Welcome back in, everybody, to the Box Score Network. I am Ben Parker. That is Shane Ratliff, and that is Austin Freed. We really appreciate everybody being on board tonight, both our guys who do all the work and then all of you who come in to watch. Dillon Thieneman, if I'm mispronouncing the name, I apologize to Dillon and everybody who knows better. We've had some discussions about it, and we've done the homework on it, and we still have yet to really settle in on a final pronunciation. So we'll do the best we can with that tonight here for Dillon Thieneman. Here we go. Height 6 foot flat. Weight 205. 40-yard dash. Ran a 4.35. A RAS score of 971. Austin, I'm going to go to you first. Tell me about Dillon Thieneman here.
Yeah, Thieneman is one of my favorite prospects in the draft. And he's kind of the opposite. If you've watched our uh, show we did on Emmanuel McNeil Warren, I have these guys graded very similarly overall, but very different players. Where McNeil Warren is like really flashy, fun to watch. I think Thieneman's one of those. Well, I'm just going to list a bunch of things off and just close your eyes and imagine what you're watching. Ready? Sneaky athletic, film junkie, first guy in, last guy out,
Yeah.
lunch pail guy. Like, just all the classic white guy who plays football isms. He's that. And I think it's hilarious. But at the same time, the dude can absolutely ball. When he was at Purdue, his first year, he was pretty much like playing pretty much true free safety that year. And that's actually my favorite tape of his. And that's what really made me fall in love with the player. And I watched that last, but I'm going to start with it because that's what happened first in his career. He was pretty much a true free safety, and he balled out. I think he might have even been All-American his first year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was tremendous tape. He read and reacted like a NFL vet from free safety. He came downhill with aggression, but not necessarily over aggressive. His ability to transition into like man coverage off like play action and things like that when he was maybe walked down a little bit where it was awesome. I thought he did that tremendous. It showed he had great fluid hips. His zone coverage had, some misses in there, but for a young true freshman at Purdue, he I thought showed tremendous an initial ability to play in zone coverage. And I thought his tackling form was really good. And then as the years go on, he became more and more versatile. He started playing more in the box. He started being more of like a nickel linebacker, as well as true free safety. And he started playing a lot more like too high, specifically, which I thought he did that really well as well. There was nothing that I saw him do that I was like, oh well, he can't really do that. Everything he tried to do, he succeeded at, and I think that shows not only to his athletic ability, but his ability between the ears to just process the game at a really high level. The big question mark with Thieneman is is just like open field tackling is really questionable at times. And it's not when he gets a hand on guys. When he like gets you, he's kind of got you. He's a very good form tackler in that way. But there's a lot of times where he just gets shaken out of his cleats entirely and doesn't even like slow the guy down hardly. Those are really bad looks, but I think that is lower on my concern range than a guy who is able to get you and hit you, just can't bring you down. I like that when he's able to get you and hit you, he can bring you down. I think the other thing can be developed more in the NFL rather than that. Uh, and then the when he got to Oregon specifically, I really liked his tape as a nickel. I thought he really improved from his nickel tape at Purdue to his nickel tape at Oregon. And that showed me that I'm fully comfortable with this guy being my primary nickel or my single high deep free safety. And a guy who can do both of those is not necessarily grown on a tree every draft. It's not super often. And that's why he gets these Javon Holland comps. A lot of people throw out the Javon Holland comp, and I totally see it and agree with it.
Austin, excellent work. I I think you're going to be the highest of us three on Dillon, but we'll see. We'll see what Shane's got here. And just to be clear, I like him too. But Shane, trot it out. What are your thoughts, early thoughts here on Dillon Thieneman?
Okay, so the number one thing that I agree with Austin is if you go back and watch his freshman tape, you question how he ever ended up at Purdue. The answer is both brothers of his walked on there, so he went there as a legacy. And then after Purdue played terrible, Oregon and Dan Lanning went and got him out of there. His first game as a true freshman, 10 tackles, one interception, three other pass breakups. He literally went from nobody knowing him to like, okay, now we got to watch this kid. As Austin said, freshman All-American. We'll go over what he does. I think he has excellent coverage instincts from having to play all the different positions, elite speed. Austin mentioned he's fluid in everything he does. There's not going to be a time where he's doing something where you just go, hey, he just doesn't fit out there. Um, I think just like Austin said, he hits what he hits. Does he swing and miss? Yes, he definitely does. Ball skills, I think he's gotten better as the years have gone along and how he takes care of those type of things. Um, I agree with Austin also. He can play free, strong, or the nickel spot. He sees the run and he goes up and hits. Uh, it's a good read. The other thing, Austin kind of went through the typical white defensive back John Lynch run through. His fire shows up on tape. This is a guy that flat out wants to compete in everything he does. You beat him for a pass play, he's going to make sure he gets you the next time. You are the guy that jukes him out. I'd be watching for an ear hole shot the next time you run the ball. He doesn't like to be embarrassed. He's going to come back and get you. Some things that I didn't like on tape, and I think actually this was one of the things that got a little worse at Purdue after he left Purdue and he was at Oregon. He falls a little bit more for play action passes. I think that's because they shifted him around a lot, and there's a lot of times where the run game was important for him, so he kind of tried to jump up into that, and he gets caught in no man's land a little bit. For the open field tackling that Austin meant, I think a lot of it is pursuit angle. He is wired for speed, and sometimes he trusts his speed to be able to get him to a point. And if you already have he's coming at you at a hard angle and you can make a pretty good jump cut. Those are the cuts where he just flat out misses a guy for a tackle. He's going full speed. Guy stops on a dime, makes a move. Players are going to do that for you. If I'm being super, super nitpicky on this, he could definitely work on getting off blocks. Sometimes, again, he's in the play so fast that it allows offensive linemen, tight ends to kind of get their hands on him and extend. I, like Austin, think that this is a guy that's going to fit in any system. You're going to be able to play him wherever how you want. I think the new Vorich of picking either a good young safety or a good corner and playing them at nickel has increased his draft stock to no end because he can legitimately show you that he's done all of those things. It's not like, hey, we kind of used him in this in red zone. It's no, he played a true nickel linebacker at Oregon quite a bit. He played true free safety from the first day he stepped on the field at Purdue. He can play strong. You can move him around. I think he's a guy that trades are going to be built around because I think people are going to get really excited by him as the time draft rolls around. I think he's a piece you can fill in on your defense. And like I said, there's not a lot of weaknesses. And I think he showed throughout the years that he was the top guy. As Austin mentioned, we kind of already covered our top two guys in safety. I think he floats right up on the top. And as Austin mentioned, it's dynamic the way that the two of them play the game exactly opposite, but are both skilled at what they do.
All right, Shane, very good work. Thank you very much. I will duplicate some of what y'all said. I'll have some different spins on some things. So, what tape did I watch? The 25 highlights, 25 Minnesota game, the first Indiana game, the second Indiana game, the Washington game, the Southern Cal game, the Iowa game. I took a look at all of those, every snap, trying to get a feel for this guy. What does he play? You already mentioned it. Deep safety, box safety, off man. I saw all of that. I enjoy his work at deep safety better than his work as a box safety. For me, it's not even close. I'm not saying he cannot do the box things, but I fell in love with his deep center fielding type of work. I didn't fall in love with the underneath stuff, although he can do it. Very smart. Austin already mentioned that. Usually, almost always in the right spot. This guy has done his film work. This is a smart guy who puts in the work. The range for that very good, not elite, middle to numbers. So you can go middle of the field to numbers. You can see that a lot on the deep pass covers. I didn't see him. There's a couple of highlights of him going middle of the field to the boundary, but that's not normal. He usually cannot get all that way. I liked Emmanuel McNeil Warren's range another step better than what I like his range. Part of that is the size of the step. Thieneman can cover a lot of ground quickly, but I thought the longer it had to go, his range got limited. So I had 15 to 20 yards is where I had the range. Physicality. It's good, not dominant. And that surprised me because when you watch his highlights and his kind of ESPN stuff, he looks like a guy who can drop a load, and he can, but it's still not dominant. He certainly hits well, but he frequently loses to bigger players. It is all over every piece of game film that I watched. He loves to be physical, but if he doesn't have his momentum, and that is the big key, we mentioned this with another player a few weeks ago. When he doesn't have his momentum, he can be pushed around, swallowed up, even run over. I'll allude to that more here in a minute when it comes to some run defense, but it showed up on every piece of film, and that's not my top priority for this position for this guy, but it's there. Matter of fact, out of all the people we've studied in depth, I didn't see anybody get pushed around more than him when it came to losing to bigger players. Athleticism, it's very good. He has an excellent RAS, but you can see him getting out athleted, out twitched, if you will, by running backs, slot receivers, and mobile quarterbacks. You could see it in the Indiana game. You could see it in the USC game. You can see that he's getting out twitched and out athleted by a few of these guys. It's not the norm, but you can see that. Again, when he's got his downhill speed, he's a handful. As a matter of fact, he can dominate. But when he doesn't have that, he can be outcut and outmaneuvered. And that was not once or twice. That was more than once. Here's the run defense. This is the worst part for me. It's solid. It's not better than that. He's good in support, but he can be run through on short yardage or goal line. I mean, this happened a lot. Hemby, the Indiana running back, ran him over 2 or 3 times. I mean, just wiped him out. You could see it in the Washington game. I forget if it was Jonah Coleman or the other guy, the Muhammad guy. I forget. Just ran him smack over. I mean, like he wasn't even there. You can see him getting run through. So that wasn't great. He struggles to fight through blocks. One of y'all mentioned that already. When he's targeted by the offensive lineman at the tight end, he really struggles to get off of that. It's a big problem for him. And also, Austin, I think you mentioned this, running backs in space can shake him. He really struggles to stay in front of them. Now, part of that, Shane, you mentioned it, there are a few bad angles that he takes, but there are times where Thieneman's got him dead to rights, and they do a shake and twerk, and they're off, and he struggles to stay in front of them. Again, part of that is when he's kind of approaching the line, kind of sitting there as a box safety, as opposed to reading and coming in at full throttle. So I saw a good bit of that there. I'm going to stop right there. I've got one more section of notes we'll get to. Shane, I will come back to you, hash out anything you want, and tell us where you're thinking about drafting Thieneman.
Well, I think a lot of the notes you hit on, Ben, are very similar to what I have. Austin mentioned a player comp. When I think about him, and it's funny because a linebacker partner of his, Bo Richter at Oregon, is a baseball guy. Thieneman is like Armstrong, super athletic. You want him playing center field for you. There's times where you wonder what he's doing out there. I think that's the same thing with Dillon. I think he can play all the positions, but I think, as we've mentioned before, him in center field, I think, is where his true athletic ability shows the most. I think he does a better job reading there. The closer you get into the box, and it's crazy to think at the speed he has, and you're saying he's over 200 pounds, that he's on the small end, but offensive linemen and tight ends aren't getting smaller, and people can beat him up down low. It's hard to be real fast when somebody's 360 sitting on top of you. And like you said, uh, he takes a beating in the Washington game. Indiana, especially in the second game, looks like they picked on him specifically, not only in some of the pass routes, but definitely in the run game. Um, I mean, Indiana picked on a lot of people, so it's hard to say like that's just him
Sure.
showing up. But
Right.
when you watch that film, somebody saw something and they decided that was something they were going to attack. I think he's a guy that's going to have a long career in the NFL. Um, I think he's going to be a defensive coordinator's dream because, like Austin said, he's going to be the lunch pail, work hard, film guy. You can tell that he studies the game because there are things that he made mistakes in years in the past that he doesn't do anymore. I think he has picked up some traits. Like I said, though, he's a guy where you get enamored with him, you're gonna make a move. Again, it's another white defensive back, but like Philly did, where you went, hey, we already got our number one defensive back, but we can't let him slide. So you reach up to go get your nickel. Is that where you make this move? I think Dillon's gonna get drafted ahead of that. I think there's two safeties that are in the top of the draft. And so I think even some of the stuff we talked about, I think the NFL may wipe it away for what else he can do for the coverage skill side. I think he's going to be a high pick.
Austin, back to you, man. Where you're thinking about drafting him, and anything else you want to hash out before I get to my little last part of my little notes.
I did want to say I mean, there's obviously agreements and disagreements between everybody, but with your Ben take on his range, I that's a firm, hard disagree for me. I have his range graded higher than Emmanuel McNeil Warren's by a good bit, and higher than Caleb Downs. I have him as my best range of the three guys, and that's actually one of the only things he grades at higher than both of those guys for me. He's one of those guys who, to me, is just really, really good across the board at everything, but doesn't necessarily excel. And I think with Downs and McNeil Warren, they both have things that they truly excel at. And Thieneman grades out in between both of them on like almost every kind of category, except for range. I have him higher. Block shedding, I have him lower than both of those guys. I think Shane, you might have mentioned he doesn't get off blocks very well, and I definitely see that. And then ball skills, I have him lower on. I think he's a tremendous center field
Mm.
safety, as you guys said, uh, reacts and covers ground and everything. But I don't think he's uh, super ball skills, go make a lot of interceptions type of a guy. More of a get there and you're not even going to throw it because he's back there, or get there and just disrupt it enough to where the play can't be made. Um, Overall, I think my favorite thing he can do is absolutely be that true deep safety, whether you're in single high or two high structure. I think he can do it all. I think he could, even though I talked about the Javon Holland comp, which I think is a good comp for him because of his ability to play as a robber or down in the box or up closer to the line. I think he could turn into like a Jesse Bates in the NFL, where he
Mm.
like seriously is a truly elite eraser back there at the very back of your defense. I think he has that ability if that's what a team wants him to do, is to stick back there and really grind on becoming that. I think he absolutely could. And so for all those possibilities, I have him as a first round talent. My second safety in this draft class. Um, I truly don't have much negative to say about the player other than as we mentioned slightly earlier, the open field tackling and then the kind of the block shedding, which is more of why I'm comfortable moving back there full time, because he can use all of that skill set that he has to be tremendous back there, and he was his freshman year of college tremendous back there. So that would be my preferred thing. Not saying he can't excel and become a great player as a more versatile guy. He absolutely could.
Excellent work. Let me hit my last little bit here, and I'm getting the final thoughts you got here. The zone coverage. That's his best thing. Really good deep center field. Has both the downhill speed and the ball skills to eliminate the deep half. This is where I really loved him. Teams generally threw away from him. They learned to just not throw the ball in his area. He anticipates. He carries the deep middle routes well. I mean, just pretty much everything you would want in that deep center field area, from speed to mentality to reading to being able to pick up a guy who's gotten loose deep. I mean, he's got all of it. He can really just he can shut the play down deep, and he can pick them off too. So I really love that work right there. The man coverage, I liked his off man work. I'm not thrilled with his press nickel, if you want to call it that. All right. I think he can do it. I don't think he's as good at that as he played a lot of at Oregon. He played a ton of off man where he was basically picking up the fourth or fifth guy in a spread, right? So the offense would spread him out so much he would kind of line up in the off man. I do think he can run the press man though. I just wouldn't want him to be making his living doing that, considering how good he is at the deep center field zone work. The tackling. This is my last major note here. It's tremendous. My gosh, Austin, I think you led off with this. Maybe it was your second thing. The tackling is he wraps up so well. He is so consistent at it. He will have an occasional broken tackle that's more from a big guy just breaking through him. But goodness gracious, the tackling is so good as far as him wrapping up and technique and getting a hit on. It's just really good. The only time it's not good is when a bigger guy runs through him. And again, I can't say it enough. You can see it on the Washington tape, the Indiana tape, both games, the Minnesota tape. In short line, goal line, he's almost useless. I mean, he just cannot do it. Like, as far as him lining up on the line, it's kind of laughable. There's even some tape of him trying to push on a pile. It looks like a gnat trying to push on a pig. I mean, it affects nothing, ever. He just doesn't have the mass, but that's okay. And I tell you, I came out with a mid-second round grade on him, early to mid-second round, but I love his deep center field work so much. I think it's so effective and persuasive back there that I have no problem with anybody that wants to draft him middle of the first round. It is that good. I love that work that he's doing back there. I just think it's tremendous. So that's where I came out on Dillon Thieneman. Anybody else final thoughts here before we kick out? All right. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Shane and Austin, excellent work as always. That's where we are on Dillon Thieneman. Certain to be drafted high. He's not going to make it out of the first round, I'm convinced, based on what people are saying, what we've said on him tonight. So everybody have a great one. See you next time, and goodbye.